Hello, Teebelle Couture's lover. Thank you for subscribing to my channel. Thank you for your likes, for your comments. The family is really increasing. I'm so happy and joyful at the same time. Thank you so much for helping me grow this channel. God bless you so much. So, what do I have for you today is this looking beautiful boo with a channel at the front, or should I say a panel at the front that is an extension starting from the back neck to the front neck down to the front panel or channel to the M line. It also has a slit at the front, that is the center front and both sides of the dress. This enables me to walk easily because it's somehow like not too fitted at the hemline but looking straight and cool. So I had to put those two slits there. So without further ado, let's get into the video to see how this beautiful looking bubble dress is made. I have this piece of fabric, is 3 yards. This is what I'm going to be using for the main dress. I love the fabric because it has different prints, so I just went for it. Then I have this red one with me, which I'm going to be using for the channel or the panel at the front. This is the right part of the fabric, so it is inside, and the one we are looking directly part now is the left side of the fabric. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold the fabric into two equal halves because I'm using 3 yards of fabric. This is what I have, so I'm just going to manage it. I'm not on the taller side, I'm just like an average height, so I'm going to be using this 3 yards, though it wasn't that flowy for me the way I like, but this is what I have and this is what I'm going to go with. So I'm going to fold them into two equally because I'm going to be cutting the front and the back at the same time, and I don't want the shoulder line to have a same line. I just want to cut it like that. What I'm presently doing here right now is to just arrange it properly in order not to have any fold inside. I want to make all the length line equal, and so I'm going to be using this center front. I'm going to be cutting around the center front area, and the other side is going to be the side front. So this is what I have after folding the fabric equally, and the shoulder line, like I said earlier, is not going to have a seam line. It's just going to be like that. So the very first thing I'm going to be doing is to measure my bust length, but I'm not actually using my bust length. I went down to measure more than my bust length. So if your bust length is like maybe 9 inches, you can do 10, or you can do 11 inches. So if your bust length is like in centimeter 25 centimeters, I went ahead to add 2.5 or 4 centimeters to my bust length. That is what I'm just measuring right now on the fabric with my chalk. Then I'm going to take my ruler to connect the line on a straight line like so. Then I went ahead again to measure my bust circumference. I divided it by 4 with some ease, which I later discover I'm not going to be using because I changed the style to like a butterfly kind of bubu, not a straight one. So from here, if you are doing a straight one, you can divide your bust circumference into 4. Like mine is 36. 36 divided by 4, you can add 2 inches more or so to it. If you are using centimeters, you can add 5 centimeters or more to your bust circumference. The next thing I did is just to go straight to the hemline. I divided my hip circumference plus 2 to 3 inches, depending on how you want the ease to be. I'm trying to think, should I make it straight or should I just create it in a form of butterfly? I went ahead to pick the butterfly kind of bubu, just slightly butterfly. So the very first thing I did after making this decision was to divide from my bust line to my hip line into two equal halves, because that is where I'm going to be constructing my butterfly, or that is where it is going to be stopping. So I divided it into two, picked up my chalk and my ruler to rule a line across like so. And I went back to measure what I have at the hemline so that I can input it at the side, at the midpoint presently where I am. Because what I want to do is to have a straight line from this particular place where my tape, my ruler is, to the hem line. I want to have a straight line. So I went in to mark what I have at the hip to that place, and I used my ruler to connect like so on a straight line. So the next thing I'm going to do is just to use my free hand to connect from the very edge of my fabric, since I'm not doing a straight bubu anymore. So I wouldn't be needing the bust circumference I marked earlier divided by 4. So I'm just going to use this curve and just curve my hand like so. And this was all that I did for this dress. And with this, I just like it that way. So I didn't bother to connect back to the bust line. I wouldn't be needing that place at all. So I'm cleaning it off to rule the chalk to connect the line like so. So I'm going to be cutting from that very edge like so downward. And the next thing I'm going to be doing right now is to mark my neck width, the neck width I want for this particular bubu. What I just did was the basic neckline, which is 7.5 centimeters or 3 inches neck width. Then the depth I used 3 centimeters. 3 centimeters is more or less like 1 inch, so you can go deeper because this is back neck. That is what I'm doing presently, just the back neck. I'm going to be constructing the front neck later on. So once I was done, the next thing I'm going to do is to take my scissors and cut through that neck piece, then run along to cut the side seam. So this was the mistake I made. I got distracted here, and instead of me to mark my seam lines, I totally forgot. But thank God, because it's a free dress, there will be no point. At this point was when I remembered that I did not mark my seams on the dress. So I had to stop so that I can explain better. So if you want to mark your seam, you can go ahead to mark an inch of a seam outside your chalk line. But because it's free for me, so I still went with it, and it still flowed perfectly on me after putting it on. So if you want a seam line, please mark it before cutting off. It's very important. So the next thing I'm going to be doing right now is to notch the center front and the center back. That is the midline that is still folded on the fabric, because I'm going to be opening the fabric up. And I also went ahead to chalk the left side, that is the inner side or the wrong side of the fabric, for me to know which is which. And I went ahead to open up the fabric into like so. So what I'm going to be doing now is to arrange the fabric exactly the way it is folded, but now separating the front from the back part, because I want to construct my front neck depth. So I'm going to be doing this for one side of the bubu dress or the dress. I'm trying to arrange it properly for me not to make any mistake while cutting it. The next thing I did once I was done was to get hold of where I notched earlier. Then I took my chalk to chalk the center point, that is where the front and the back neck is joining at the shoulder line, and I went inward or downward by few inches or centimeters. Let's say I think I did 8 or 7 inches. In centimeters, this can be more than 20 to 25 centimeters, because I don't want my bust to be revealing. After chalking down the neck depth, the next thing I did was to take my curve ruler, that is the hip curve. That was what I could find around at that time, so I used it, and to curve it like so. I wanted to have a form of V at the front. Then I chalked down like so, and afterwards I went inward by 1 centimeter. So this is the fabric I'm going to be putting at the front. The second mistake I made in this video was I was meant to measure the width of the channel that I'm going to be putting at the front. I was meant to measure the width, so I forgot to measure the width, and I just went in by 1 centimeter instead of the width of the fabric that I'll be putting at at that front, which I later did and I'm going to be showing. But for now, I went in by 1 centimeter from the very tip downward. Then I used my ruler and my chalk to connect this measurement on a straight line. And what I did was to just rule downward like so. And once I was done connecting all these lines together, then I never realized my mistake, and the connection was kind of giving me some kind of difficulty because I was looking at it that this thing is not straight. But at the end of the day, I discovered, oh, I was meant to go in more than that. So I used my scissors first of all to cut out the 1 centimeter, which is like almost like 0.5 inches that I did. I used my scissors to cut that part away. But later on, which I'm going to be showing you after this one, I discovered I was meant to do more than that, because what I was meant to do was to measure the width of the panel or the channel or the Ankara fabric that I'm going to be putting at the center front. It is the width I'm meant to cut away, not the 1 centimeter I did. So at this point, I realized that what I cut out was too small for the fabric I'm going to be inserting or sewing into the center front. So what I'm doing right now is to rearrange back the front part of this Ankara piece in order for me to cut the right width away from the fabric. Remember earlier what I cut off was just 1 centimeter, which was way less than the which was way less than what I was meant to cut. So I rearranged it back in order for me to cut the normal amount that I will be cutting. So if you are using inches, you can cut away 2 inches, and if you are using centimeters, you need to cut away 5 centimeters, because the width of the panel or the channel or the fabric piece I'm going to be sewing at the center is about 5 inches. The total width of the fabric is 5 inches. So I'm going to be sewing it on fold in between the fabric line. So what I need at that very side is 2.5 inches. Yes, let me say 2.5 inches. I'm going to be using half an inch to sew. So what I'm taking away right now is less than 2 inches, because earlier what I cut off was 1 centimeter. So I deducted that from the centimeters I'll be taking off from the 5 centimeters. So it's going to give me 4 centimeters. So if you are taking off any inches right now, if to be less than 2 inches, maybe 1.75 or 1.5 inches more or less, that is what you should be taking out. In order for you not to make mistake, it's just better to go ahead to take out your 2 inches or take out your 5 centimeters, unlike the mistake I did. So for the front part of your Ankara or your Bubu piece, you'll be cutting off 2 inches or 5 centimeters. So I'm done cutting out the necessary parts that I was meant to cut out. So the next thing I'm going to do is to mark the neck, my neck circumference from the center back to where my neck depth is. And I'm going to be chalking it after marking this. I need to know what this length is, or I need to know what this is going to give me. And also I went to the M line to mark where my slit is going to start and where it is going to end. You need this measurement. Measure from your back neckline to where your neck depth at the front is. Then also, if you are opting for a slit at the center front, also measure for your slit length. Having done this, I'm going to take my Ankara piece, then I'm going to fold it into two equal parts like so. I've gone ahead to iron and interfacing on the Ankara fabric, and from the very back neck downward is where I'm going to be placing sewing in the Ankara fabric. So the width of the Ankara fabric I have is, I think, 6 inches. Part of the excess on this Ankara will be used for seam. So what I'm going to do is to fold the fabric piece into two equal parts. Once I'm done folding, what I'm going to be marking right now is from that very neck I measured. So I'm going ahead to do the measurement again in order for me to be sure of what I measured earlier. Then I'll take what I measure back to the Ankara piece that I want to sew into the fabric, and I will struck it like so. So from that very edge to that length, I'm not going to be sewing it. This is going to be my neck piece. It's going to be around my neck piece, so I don't need to sew from the very edge of the fabric to the length where I measured. I'm not going to be sewing that part. Then the next measurement I'm going to take again, just to be sure, is the slit measurement. I have excess on this fabric, So what I'm going to do from the excess upward, I'm going to measure where my slit will start and it will end. That is what I just chalked. Your slit can be higher or lower than mine. So from the very edge of the fabric down to that place is going to be for my neck circumference and neck depth. And you are going to be folding the fabric like that, and you will sew from that edge downward to where your slit is going to be. What I'm trying to do here, after getting where I'm going to start and stop my stitch on the fabric, I went ahead to find the midpoint so that I can connect them together on a straight line. I don't want to sew just anyhow. I want to sew exactly on a straight line in order for me to have two equal halves on the fabric. Once I was done with this, the next thing I went ahead to do is just to sew on the line like so. This is what I have after sewing the piece, and the next thing I'm going to be doing is to fold the fabric. You can see the way I'm folding it. I'm folding it to give me the outer part of the fabric, which I'm going to be sewing around the back neck all through to the front and to the hem line of this bubu dress. So this is what I have, and I'm trying to adjust it so that we can see it clearly before I go ahead to sew it. I'm going to go ahead to find the midpoint, and I'm going to take my scissors to notch. The notch part is where I'm going to be attaching to my center back. That is the center back of this dress that I notched at the very beginning. If you remember, where my finger is presently is where I notched from the very beginning of the video, because I knew that I would be attaching something to that very place. So I need to mark it in order to have even length when I'm sewing into the fabric. I'm just going to go ahead to attach the collar piece or the front channel or panel piece of the Ankara fabric to the center back. And with that, I will use my pin to pin from one side of the back through to the front down to the hem line. So what I'm doing right now, I'm attaching the front piece of the fabric and the front piece of the channel piece together, because I'm going to be sewing the wrong side of my Ankara fabric. This is not meant to show outside. So I'm going to pin all through from the center back through the front to the hem line for both sides. This is what I have after I was done pinning. Turning it to the right side, this is what it's going to look like. I've not sewn it yet, so I'm just trying to show us how it's going to look like once I am done sewing. So like I said, I have excess at that very edge, so I'm just trying to cut it off before going to my sewing machine to cut. Please don't cut off. If I had known, I wouldn't have cut off, because I had a little bit shortage at the hemline at the end of the day. So I would rather advise you to go in to sew first before cutting off. So next time I won't be cutting off before sewing. So here I'm sewing in the panel or the channel together with the main Ankara fabric piece. I'm showing us how to sew it. It's very simple, easy and straightforward. Once you pin properly and correctly, you will get it right without any mistake. So I've sewn the first side and I'm going ahead to sew the second side. I'm done sewing everything here, and this is what I have. I've also gone ahead to secure the edge with my weaving machine, and this is what it's looking like: neat, smooth, cool and vibrant. I've also gone to secure the edge. This is the inner view. You can see the edge is neatly secure with my serger machine, and the next thing I'm going to be doing is to now sew the side seams. Before sewing the side seams, I'm going to go ahead to use a little piece of Ankara fabric for the sleeve side of the fabric, then go ahead to sew both of the side seams and also the hem line together. And when I'll be coming back to show you the full dress piece. So this is the dress, and this is me in the dress, looking pretty sexy and beautiful. I love the outcome of the dress. This is my first time of trying this out, and I so much love that it came out nice, except for the hem line where I overcut the center panel or channel. So I would advise you, if you are sewing this and you have excess at the hemline, don't cut yet, just go ahead to sew first before cutting out the excesses. So aside from that, everything is looking so pretty, even on the body form or on the mannequin. And I just love the fact that it has mixtures of colors. It's looking Christmas, Christmas, Christmas. And even when I wore it to church and they saw it at the church, one of my church members said, I should have waited until Christmas. You can try this on your own and let me know how it came out. I so much love the style. I think I'm going to be sewing this style from now on. It's simple, just free and easy to wear. You don't have to stress yourself, try to like squeeze yourself inside it. It's just from the head and it just slips straight down to your body. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. Thank you for liking. Thank you so much for encouraging me to make videos. And please subscribe to my channel if you are watching my video for the first time, or if you've been watching my videos and you've not subscribed, please do subscribe. I want to be more consistent. I don't know what is happening, but I pray I'll be more consistent comes 2024 by God's grace. So thank you so much for watching my video. Please like, subscribe. See you next time. Bye bye.